Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack.
You know who I can do without? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them. They never rent quality flicks. They always pick the most intellectually devoid movie on the racks.
And now, on with the show.
So you want friends? Awkward.
What's she doing? Tell me, are you happy now?
Huh? Quit worrying about me. I told you before I'm fine on my own.
So does that mean you're happy now, Satomi?
Whether or not I'm happy is so not the issue.
Please open your eyes to joy.
You're an AI?
Robots that can think like humans? This is incredible! Come with me. There's something I want to show you. Everyone's definition of happiness is different.
I see you.
By the middle of the 21st century, organ failure had become a worldwide epidemic. But GeneCo was there to satisfy the demand for organ replacements. The problem is, if you miss a payment, GeneCo sends out the repo man. And when he finds you, your time is up.
Collect on the Handelman account at once. This payment is past due.
Hey guys, what's going on? You're listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net, and I am one of your many master of ceremonies for this evening. I am Mike the Birdman, but I'm not alone. Up here on the stage, not quite a backup singer, not quite a leading man, but definitely his own interesting persona in his own way.
I was always the character actor in drama school. It's Ken Reels from this anime.
So yes, guys, we are back here on Loose Cannon, which is the show here on Twig, which is dedicated to the more unusual side of cinema, movies, and things you might find on a streaming service at 3 a.m., but more like a throwback to the big box video stores of our youth, more my youth more than Ken's, because you're quite a bit younger than me, but still.
Yeah, I was at the end of the big box stores.
But say, yeah, like you got to experience it a little bit. And today's selections were actually curated by Ken, because there's no way this would happen with Alex, because he hates this particular type of musical. And, well, I was going to say musical. You know, he just hates musicals in general. And that's
he
fine.
Openly hates musicals, and he's said that multiple times, which is why I decided, hey, let's do this while he's gone.
Exactly. So it kind of works out, and having this is actually kind of rather fortuitous, because this past summer, I rediscovered my love of musicals. So I guess to give you guys a little bit of history before we start kind of getting into things, I've actually always been into musicals since I was a child, and that goes all the way back to grade 6 for me. When I was in elementary school, the first musical I ever saw was in Toronto at the Princess of Wales Theatre. Or was it? Yeah, I think it was the Princess of Wales Theatre. And I saw a show called Riverboat. And it's this incredibly cool musical about, well, a riverboat during the 1800s, or basically, I think during slavery times. And one of the most powerful moments, I remember this black gentleman got up on stage and with this incredibly deep voice started singing a song called Old Man River. In fact, after this podcast is over, I'm seriously going to go look that up, because it was something so powerful that it stuck with me for years. So much so that experience stuck with me through elementary school, and I joined the choir. Not because I had any particular musical talent. I mean, I thought I could sing okay, but I wanted to go on the field trips. And the next time that would come around would be grade 8's trip back to the Princess of Wales Theatre. And we saw Phantom of the Opera by Andrew Lloyd Webber. And the Toronto production is extremely well known. And it was just something that I'd never seen before, because unlike Riverboat, which is very singy, it's very narrative, Phantom,
it's classic.
Yeah. Phantom is an experience, like with pyrotechnics and stunts and all this other crazy shit. And I thought it was really, really, really awesome. And it would be years would go by until I went back to college. So when I went to college, me and the old Twig crew got invited down to a little theater down in Toronto, and I can't recall its name off the top of my head. One of their guys has done a lot of stuff in Toronto. His name is Nug. He used to be on Sportsnet. He used to do like a wrestling show and some other stuff, but he's a pretty well-known Toronto comedian. And he did a show called Evil Dead the Musical, which is just as fucking stupid as you might think. But Ken, it was one of the most visceral experiences I've ever been to, because there is something called...
That's a show. Evil Dead the Musical is a show.
Like,
that's an experience.
Have you ever been?
No, I have not.
Oh my God.
Many friends who were.
Yeah, the Toronto production, the two ones that I went to, I don't know why they were ramped up on these particular nights, but in the splatter zone, you might be saying the splatter zone, what the fuck are you talking about? So they literally hand out raincoats, and there's an advisory if you buy your tickets. If you sit in these few rows, you will get splattered with blood. We are not responsible for any ruined items of clothing. And I heard about this because the first song I heard off that soundtrack is a little song called What the Fuck Is That? And I was like, okay, this sounds weird and wonderful, and I love Evil Dead. I was on a huge kick at that time. And they douse you in blood. Like, there's like a chainsaw scene when he cuts off his hand, when all the Evil Dead Deadites come back to life, when old Jake gets sucked into the sewer and or into the cellar and his limbs fly off. I'm talking like Saw levels of blood. Yep. So it was insane. Then
people would go to those shows wearing white t-shirts on purpose.
Yes. Oh, and it was so intense. And you'd always see the Toronto horror community come out to support it. And I can't remember the girl's name who played Cheryl, who Ash's sister from the musical. I think I have her on Facebook or something, but this girl would steal the show because she was so damned funny. And the guy we had also did the Broadway version. His name was Ryan, and he played Ash, and it was so good. You can find a version on YouTube which does have the Broadway cast, which is really, really, really awesome. So anyway, final story. This just happened recently. So as many of you know here on the show, I had bariatric surgery back in May, and that meant my mobility was increased because I was dramatically losing weight. And I decided I wasn't going to take life sitting around anymore. Well, in a proverbial sense. And I started looking around because where in the area in which I live, we are known for little theater. So I looked up one of the little theater companies around here, and they were putting on a show of Mamma Mia. And that's a show that I had zero idea. All I knew is that my wife loved it. It featured the music of ABBA. And growing up in this area, because I was so close to Toronto, we would see endless advertisements when it was playing down in the theater district on television. It was that, Miss Saigon, Tommy, and I'm sure something else. Like, you would just see endless TV ads for it. So I had no idea. And it came to the point where Blair was watching the movie adaptation of Mamma Mia, and I was like, fuck ABBA, fuck this, and fuck you. And I wrote the movie off for like 10 years. But when I got my surgery, I was in my manual wheelchair, and I decided I want culture. So I decided, Blair, let's go see Mamma Mia, knowing it was one of her favorite musicals. And Ken, it was a formative experience. That we saw it on opening night, and that theater came alive. Like the girl who played Sophie, this gorgeous redheaded girl, but she had the voice of an angel. And it turns out she was one of the singing voices for one of the My Little Pony little girls from Friendship is Magic. I think she was Apple Blossom's singing voice. And it was so cool. And I'm still waiting for my wheelchair to get fixed, but as soon as it is, I'm going back to musical theater. So theater is fucking awesome. I'm trying to make plans to see Mean Girls in Toronto because I've heard the songs of the Broadway cast, and that sounds awesome. So anyway, Ken, what about you, man? Where does theater and musicals come for you?
Well, I started in the theater back when it was early grade school. We did a production of Annie. This is a production. I've been a part of an Annie production a total of 5 times.
Wow.
So I know that story like the back of my hand, and I've played different roles in every single production. One of the productions I played a slew of parts. And that was the one that was really low budget. We had like no budget for that. And we put that production together in like the span of a month and a half. It was one of those summer kind of kid camp kind of stuff. And being so close to New York, like literally just a half-hour drive from the city, like I can go, if I really want to, I could just go see a Broadway show, like really, really easily. Like not even, it's not even a question. And then when it comes to musical theater and film, again, I grew up in the heyday of the Disney musical, the 90s with The Lion King and its subsequent like Little Mermaid, Lion King, and all the things that came after that during the Disney Renaissance. And like if you look at my top 50 movies of all time, a good chunk of them are musicals. And they span all different types. Like I've got Roger and Hammerstein's The King and I is still one of my favorite shows, period. Like if they ever do a Broadway revival of that, like just take my fucking money. And yeah, I was most of my schooling, I was part of the musical all the time. Some of the best times I've ever had were doing musicals with some of those people I still call friends to this very day. And it's definitely a great community to be a part of, a great community to talk with. And when it comes to movies, like you're talking to someone that has a total of, let's see, that's 127 different soundtracks.
Oh, wow.
A chunk of them are musicals.
Wow. Yeah, finding musical soundtracks for me, I'm just starting to get into it now. But I guess we should probably talk about what we're going to be talking about today. So today's selections, Ken picked, because like I said, Alex isn't here and we're in charge right now. So he wanted to show me something different. And one of them I'm really glad he picked because the fandom initially ruined it for me. Much like anytime anybody talks about Johnny Depp, not recent stuff notwithstanding, or Tim Burton, I was like, fuck, I don't care. When people started talking about Repo, the Genetic Opera, from 2008 till about 2010, shut the hell up. I don't care. I knew some of the songs only because they wouldn't shut up about it. Now, they can throw that back in my face right now and say, Mike, you never shut up about the Proto-Men. Touche. And then the other one that Ken picked is something that I'd never heard of and never even considered a possibility. It was an anime musical that has won a bunch of awards and starts out as one thing and then ends on a really unusual note at the end, but it's such a trip considering what we would talk about on Future Imperfect that I'm really glad we're talking about it today. So the movies we're going to be talking about today is Sing a Bit of Harmony, which is the anime show or the anime movie that you can stream subtitled or dubbed on Crunchyroll right now. And the other one is Repo the Genetic Opera. Now, I've only found it on Tubi. I didn't find it on Amazon. It might be on Netflix, but I don't think so.
It is not on Netflix anymore. Here in the States, it's also on Tubi, as well as available to rent and purchase on pretty much every single service.
Yeah, so we're going to start with Sing a Bit of Harmony. So, Ken, if you want to give us a little bit of the summary of this movie, then we will kind of get into the nitty-gritty of it.
All right, I'm just going to pull directly from Funimation's summary right here. So, when the beautiful and mysterious Shinon transfers to Kibu High School, she quickly becomes popular for her open-hearted personality and exceptional athletics talent. But she turns out to be an AI in the testing phase. Shinon's goal is to bring chronic loner Satomi happiness. But her strategy is something no human would expect. She serenades Satomi in the middle of the classroom. After finding that Shinon is an AI, Satomi and her childhood friend, engineering geek Tomura, steadily warm up to the new student, along with the popular and attractive Go-chan and the strong-willed Aya and judo club member Thunder. They become more and more moved by Shinon's singing voice and earnestness, even as her antics bewilder them. But when Shinon does, for Satomi's sake, end up involving them all in some serious pandemonium.
So this movie on its surface has kind of a goofy premise. You're like, a singing robot? Yeah, sure. The Terminator doing tap dance. No. Although, when you look at the idea about an AI and a robot, that's a fascinating topic in and of itself, because you start looking at why this AI was designed and why the scientists are putting this robot in a classroom. And the idea behind it is, can this robot successfully pass as human for several days undetected? And if it can do that, it will signal maybe artificial intelligence is more human-like, it's worthy of more attention than just being able to work out in the fields or deliver coffee. It's something new and it's something wonderful. And as the film progresses, it takes a hard right turn into what it means to be human, because it turns out, by the way, guys, heavy spoilers, Shinon is different because she was in their world, AIs have to be given directions. They have to be given orders. And her first direction, because Toa, I think his name was, or Toma, has to, he takes like essentially what's a Tamagotchi toy, reprograms it and teaches it, I want you to make, what's the main character's name again? Satomi happy. And as this happens, the AI starts learning at a faster and faster rate. But this other scientist shuts down the project and this AI is discarded. But before that happens, it escapes into the internet. And it's been watching over her entire life. So when she runs into this opportunity to take a body, like I guess to steal a term from Ghost in the Shell, a shell, it does it because she sees this as an opportunity to, I can make Satomi happy. And when she walks up to her in the classroom and starts singing, "Are you happy now?" She's genuinely coming from a place of concern. And you see this relationship that forms this very strange, very weirdly, like, "You're weird, girl, please don't talk to me." And it grows into something very, very, very genuine, because when it's revealed that Satomi and Tomi or Toa had this weird kind of falling out because she was trying to protect him and he was trying to look after her. It's this will they, won't they thing. And it's kind of beautiful, the fact that everybody wants to look out for her. And there's this moment where Shinon takes over this solar wind farm and makes it look like the opening to her favorite Sailor Princess anime thing. And she's like, "I did this for you to make you happy." And she's like, "Why are you crying? Are you sad? Are you mad at me?" She's like, "No, I'm really overwhelmed and really, really, really happy." And all her friends are out there singing too. And you just see this group of people just come together and they learn more about their own humanity. They start solving their own problems, because there's another character that they run into who's he thinks he's just a trophy boyfriend. He's an 80%er or something. Like, he's
By the way, just so you probably realized who you probably recognize the guy's voice in the dub. That's Ian Sinclair, aka Weiss.
Oh, that's cool. I thought so. Like, there's so many moments in this where it went in a weird direction. Like, I kind of wrote the movie off as kind of stupid for about 15-20 minutes. And then
at like the midpoint, everything just goes completely south.
Yeah, it takes such a hard turn into, like, it really wants you to think about AI, and the idea is life evolves, and to borrow a phrase from Jurassic Park, life finds a way. And the fact that this thing that came from such an innocent mindset set out on its own, it was given a mission, but then it chose to keep doing this. It chose to keep looking after her, even after it could have done anything it wanted, but it wanted no more than to see this girl happy, to fulfill its mission, but to do something genuinely good in the world and to make other people around it it made friends, it mended relationships, because the girl and the boy and the trophy boyfriend, they end up admitting that they love each other. And it's because, like, I see your troubles, and despite everything, I'm always going to be here. And the boyfriend's like, "I'm not just a piece of candy to you." She's like, "No, you're a person." And it really took the idea of musicals can be silly. Sometimes they can be really poignant. And this one really pulled the rug out from under me, because I didn't expect it to go this way. And there's when the movie ends and Shinon has lost her body, but she's proved that AI can be so much more, and that people are going to start taking artificial intelligence seriously now. She now literally is Skynet, and she lives in the global communication net.
Yeah, in the server satellite that they just launched in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, so she's viewing down on these two, Toa and Satomi, and she's like, "Come on, guys, do I really have to push you?" And it's so cute, and I was so happy. Like, I messaged you in our producers chat. I'm like, this took a turn, and I am really, really glad that I saw this. So, Ken, what are your thoughts on this?
When I had seen the trailer, and I gained knowledge of this movie after it had premiered in the States, because it premiered in the States early January. And it kind of got overshadowed by the premiere of Belle, which was like a week or two beforehand. So I had no idea this movie even existed. And then I saw a clip, specifically the clip that you made a comment like, this song's really good. It's the judo song.
Which
the
is
judo
so
fight
catchy
song.
as hell.
Oh, it's so good. And I'm like, where the hell is this from? Because this song's really good. Where the hell is this from? And I found out that I did a little bit of research and found out that this movie had come out in the States dubbed fully with the songs as well dubbed. I was just like, oh God, how did I miss this? Probably mostly because Funimation, this was in the last few months of Funimation being a full brand, as it were. So there wasn't a lot of promotion for it. Like they had a lot of leading up promotion, but they did nothing once it had got close to coming out. So it was just kind of like, it just kind of fell flat. And that's a shame. I'm happy that it's up on Crunchyroll. I am still sitting here waiting for that physical release, because hopefully they throw in the English dubbed songs in like a CD or something, because that would be very nice, because it's not available anywhere else. I mean, you can get the Japanese full soundtrack on Spotify and all your streaming platforms perfectly fine, but you can't get the English stuff. So it's just like, want that English stuff just for posterity's sake and everything.
And honestly, it's a really good dub when it comes to singing, because I can imagine the producers behind this, that's got to be a new challenge to write the songs and translate them and still have them performed and still have it fairly match up to what's on screen.
And going through some of the, and just like, it's a lot of work, and credit to the producers and the dubbers on that front, and also credit to Megan Shipman, who did phenomenal work. She is, for those of you who are big into the anime scene, she is the official voice of Anya Forger from Spy Family, which is coming back in another month or so.
I mean, overall, folks, I have to say, if you have a Crunchyroll subscription, take the hour and a half and watch this right through till the end. I really think it's one of the best anime things I've seen in a really long time, because I'm so hard to please when it comes to new anime that isn't, Dragon Ball or some derivative of some big IP. Like, I mean, I will admit to you, Ken, I'm very hesitant to try new anime because I don't want to see crap. And I feel
there's a lot of crap.
Yeah. And that's the thing. My type is so, and this isn't meant to sound self-important, but my time is so exceptionally valuable. I have to pick the right stuff so I'm not wasting my time on things. And this was such a pleasant surprise. Like, it honestly made my day better seeing it.
But also going, just as a recommendation, one of the director and creator of this original movie, he did another film that got him a lot of praise, and that was, he did a movie called Pollyea Inverted, which I think is still available on Amazon. It might not be. It might have gone over to Netflix at this point, but I had seen it on Amazon, and it's one of those very interesting love stories, and it's an unconventional love story, kind of Romeo and Juliet-esque, and that's kind of how they pitched it, at least how I got pitched it. And it's a good movie. It's not the best. I think this is a far superior product. But overall, like it's a fun watch. It's a solid, like, I sing a bit of harmony, easily a 9 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, like same here. I mean, honestly, I don't know whether this would be a good gateway anime for someone, but this wouldn't be, if someone's curious to try a new flavor of anime, this wouldn't be a bad choice. So,
and credit to Crunchyroll, because they're moving a lot of the Funimation movie library over. All that stuff is getting moved over, and that's a great thing, because Crunchyroll is not the best when it comes to movies. And I just actually recently saw that they added a movie filter for their library, which that's great.
All right, cool. Yeah,
it's not the best. It's not the best selection right now, but
it'll get better.
It'll get better.
So the next movie we're going to talk about, this one, okay, so I got to give a little bit of a preface here. So back when I was in my second year of college, which I might add was the most stressful time in my fucking life outside of my amputation, I had a very eclectic group of friends, which means I had a lot of varied interests. And some people had their heads in various scenes and various communities. And this movie kept coming up over and over and over and over and over again. And it was unavoidable. But I didn't see it until literally 48 hours ago as of this recording. So the movie I'm talking about was filmed in Toronto, has a gigantic cult following, and features Giles from Buffy, as well as the recently passed away Paul Sorvino. And that movie is Repo the Genetic Opera. And you might be saying, I've heard of that, but you probably don't necessarily know what that is. Repo is a strange post-apocalyptic future where organ failure is rampant, something has happened to the population, and a large mega corporation has found a way to profit from this. GeneCo, we're basically better living through genetics. So think of like your Shadowrun, your Cyberpunk 2077 designer bodies, and it's so much so where people can pay to have things replaced. If you want to change your race, we can probably do that. You want a better heart, we can do that too. There's even a character in the movie known as Blind Megs who has her eyes cybernetically enhanced, and in exchange for her sight and her singing, she's a permanent fixture of GeneCo. She literally has to be the spokesperson for life, because the thing about Repo, keyword in the title there, is if you ever fall behind on your payments, a Repo Man will come and repossess the organs from you. Quite literally. So if you're walking down the street and one of these guys sees you, you will be killed, and they will take your heart, your lungs, the spine out of your back. So very Battle Angel Alita in some ways. And there's also this street drug, which has become a result as of all the surgeries, which everybody does. People are even addicted to surgeries, which is actually a modern medical condition. And the only reason I know this is because of the show Botched, which, God, I can't stand that show, but I digress. My wife watches it incessantly. But anyway, so there's this drug called Zydrate, and there are people who make a living off of it called grave robbers, who can literally harvest the drug from the dead because it's so potent it stays in the body's body chemistry after death. So they literally take this gun, they stick it up the person's nose or against the temple or wherever, and they extract whatever Zydrate is still in their bodies, and they can resell that. So it is, I've never seen a world so weirdly detailed, but told in such a unique way, because Repo the Genetic Opera is literally a rock opera, which is somewhat similar to the Proto Men in the regards that this movie started out as a stage play somewhere in, I think, California, and it was bounced around for years. They eventually made a short film of it, and they got funding for this, and I think it's cost like $8.5 million. And one of the cast members of this movie, you're going to go, really? Them? Paris Hilton is in this movie. And you'll be thinking, oh, really?
She saved the goddamn production.
Yes, she did. She found out that the filming was running into a little bit of trouble and they needed money to complete filming. So she did a nightclub appearance for $50,000 and donated the entire set or the entire amount to the production to get it done. And also, most of the weird clothes you see with the nurses that hang around her, those are her real clothes. Yep. And I was just so impressed by, okay, you're the same person who made the Hottie and the Naughty and the Simple Life, and you fought for this part because the producers and the director didn't even want to see her, but they were afraid it was going to be like stunt casting, right? And she came in.
They finally give her an audition and she nails it.
Yeah, like she had the part, she could sing, and they're like, you know what? Why not? And it worked out wonderfully. So Ken, sum up the story if you can, because this movie is really fucking hard to follow.
I mean, some of the best definition is 21st Century Cure, which is actually the opening number. Industrialization's crippled the globe. Or not, it's not 21st Century Cure. The name of the song is Genetic Repo Man. But industrialization's crippled the globe. Everything is shit, basically. And there is an epidemic of massive organ failures that has devastated the entire planet. And that's when a megacorp, GeneCo, comes in and says, we can give you the organ transplants, but you're going to do it like a credit card. You're going to do it on a payment plan or like a mortgage. You're going to mortgage out your organs and whatnot. And as a result of that, things escalate. People can't pay because it's a shit world. So, of course, people can't pay. So, you're going to have to get your money back somehow. And the best way to do that is to take the organ back. Well, you can't take the organ back because they're living. Well, you might as well kill them.
Yeah, and it's cool because they have repo men who literally that's their job, but they also have another thing. Doctors are not what you think they are. They are literally known as professional assassin. It's ridiculous. So the story follows a 17-year-old girl known as Shiloh, and she has this incredibly rare blood disorder, so much so that she can't go outside. But her father, Nathan, is GeneCo's head repo man, and he's basically paying to keep her alive by being GeneCo's lead guy, trying to keep her safe. And then there's this whole family drama with the Roti family, I think it's called.
Yeah, the Rotis. The Rotis, who are the head of GeneCo. The top dog, Paul Sorvino's character. He basically he was in love with Shiloh's mother, but she dumped him for Nathan, and as a act of revenge, he kills her.
Yeah, he poisons her medication, and because Nathan's a doctor and he's trying to save her, he thinks he murdered her. So that's why he's so protective of Shiloh. He's like, I can't let this happen to you. If you go outside, bad shit's going to happen. So, and you see, because it's revealed very early on that Roti is very, very sick, and he has several kids.
He's terminal illness.
Yeah,
it's a terminal illness. Nothing he can do.
Yeah, so he has kids. He has Amber Sweet, who's played by Paris Hilton. He has another kid named Pavi, who looks like a version of the Joker because he literally wears a different face every time, and it's like attached with like clothespins. It's ridiculous, but it looks kind of cool. And then there's his son Luigi, who's played by Chop Top himself, Bill Moseley, unrecognizable to me actually.
Yeah,
and he's like a psycho. He'll stab you if you look at him the wrong way or you give him the wrong cup of coffee. And Jinko is fighting for who's going to be the heir when Roti passes away. And
Roti's basically just like, all my children are shits.
yeah, he's like, they're all idiots. I hate them. Fuck. And he runs in the Shiloh one night and he knows who she is. And he's like, well, maybe you should take over. My kids are stupid. You're not idiotic. What do you say? And what we get is a very weird and kind of hard to follow movie, but we run into another character, Blind Megs, who used to be Nathan's wife's best friend, and she blows the lid on the entire thing using her cyber eyes to project the events of what happened. And it turns Shiloh against Nathan, and it gets so fucking weird. But there's one character in this movie I love because they have the catchiest songs, and it's the song that haunted me through second year college. And it's the song, I think it's called Little Glass Vial, and it's about Zydrate. And it has such a catchy hook. I'm not going to sing it, but it is so catchy. And the guy performing it, Grave Robber, that guy holds your attention in a way.
By the way, that is one of the co-creators of the musical.
Get the fuck out. Really?
Yes, he is one of the co-creators. The other one is the other co-creator. He is in the
opera scene, isn't he?
Start This Opera shit. He's the conductor.
Oh, okay. And it's one of those movies where it's not something you really watch. It's something you experience. And what I mean by that is it takes you through this musical journey. I think it's the kind of thing you need to watch 2 or 3 times to really kind of get it. Like, it's something I'll probably watch again, actually. And I found out this in Toronto where they filmed this. I found out there's this weird community, and I use weird remarkably lightly because it's such an interesting concept. They used to do something called shadow casts for this. And shadow casting was saying, well, what the fuck is that? Another musical that did this was Rocky Horror Picture Show. So people will dress up in costume, perform the movie as it's happening on a screen behind them, and they invite audience participation. Yep. And I think I knew a girl who did Amber Sweet, and they've kind of distanced themselves from that community for whatever reason. That's their story, not mine.
I'm gonna bring this up now. There are some shady stuff that has gone on in the fan community for Repo. The titular grave robber, Terrence Zedrick, has been accused of some unsavory things. Let's put it that way.
And that's such a tragedy because I think his performance is honestly really magnetic. And it sucks when you see something really cool and you find out later the person's kind of a scumbag. So it is what it is. And there's been talk for like over 10 years about them doing a sequel, but there was an interview a couple years ago. They don't own the rights to it anymore.
Yep. The problem is when they made this movie with Lionsgate has the rights to any sequels. And also to note, the director of this movie is the director of Saws 2 through 4. And specifically, there are certain sets in this movie that are directly reused sets from Saw 4.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
This is you get this through the director's commentary, which I own the DVD. I want to upgrade that to Blu-ray eventually, but there are 2 very, very good commentaries on that on the home media release for this. You have a full acting suite of like almost all the actors, and they're great. And then there's also the director commentary, and he's got, I believe, one of the producers and a production designer on that commentary, and they're both phenomenal stuff. They're both absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, like it's one of those movies where I think the deeper you get into the production and the fandom, I think you find something new every time. Like, I've only seen this once, but I may have gone back and listened to a few songs since then. And
I have this. The soundtrack lives rent free in my brain for forever.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad that I have the benefit of time and distance from this project because, like I said, during college, it was always up in my face. Like, I swear to God, if someone sang Little Glass Vial at me one more time, they were going to get a Zydrate gun to the fucking head. It was just so annoying because I didn't know what the fuck they were, like, talking about. And it's just, when you go to school so close to a major filming city, probably people in your program are going to be involved. And it was such an underground thing. And when something underground becomes mainstream, it either becomes accepted or really fucking irritating. And this movie rode the line for me. And now that I'm, like I said, years, a decade or more removed from it, I think I can enjoy it. Now, it really sucks about one of the directors being kind of a scumbag. But, you know, that's unfortunately with art and the artist, it's very difficult to separate the two. I mean, we live in an era of J.K. Rowling, Roman Polanski, Woody Allen, and I'm sure the list goes on. Repo, one of the things that I liked about it, and it took me a while to figure out precisely what it is. It looks like a really well shot college music video because it's got a weird amateur thing to it, but it's an amateur vision with a slickness to it. Because I know Lionsgate did almost nothing to help this movie. I know the producers and the directors did almost all their own fundraising. And this was
a passion project for the director and the producers. This was a miracle this movie even exists.
Yeah, and it went out in theaters. It made less than $500,000 because it was only out for like a couple of weeks and it played only on like 11 screens or something. Yeah. But they traveled with it. They would do extensive Q&As afterwards. So think of like the Kevin Smith Road Show, but with singing. I'm sure that'll happen in Clerks 3. And it was just one of those things that I kind of wish I was there to see this in its heyday, just to experience one of those roadshows. I wish I'd seen one of those shadow casts, but I'm glad, Ken, that you suggested this because I got a chance to experience something I didn't quite know what to expect. It was not what the hype made it out to be. And I'd forgotten what my experience was in college. And it was new to me. And it was something that I'm glad I saw. Although I will say this is kind of a funny thing. Watching this on Tubi is the worst way to see this. So at the very end of the movie, Shiloh is lying in a pool of blood as her father lays dying. And it cuts to fucking commercials for diapers.
That's the worst ad placement ever.
I was like, really? The emotional climax of the movie. Do you know what happens when your baby shits itself? Well, yeah. It was just so fucking ridiculous. And I was like, all right, yeah, sure. Why not? Pump me full of Zydrate. And I don't know. I had a really fantastic time with this movie. Do I recommend people see it? Well, it's on Tubi. It's free. Why not? Do I recommend you buy it? Well, I don't know. It's going to come down.
It's dirt friggin' cheap.
Yeah, it's dirt friggin' cheap. As we know about the one director, these are allegations that it's entirely up to your personal choice and preference whether you choose to support them or not. We will not make that judgment call. That's entirely up to you. But that doesn't take away from some of the other performances in this movie. The woman who played Shiloh, wonderful singer, wonderful performance.
Alexa Vega has always been a treat.
The guy who plays Giles, Anthony Stewart Head, is a wonderful performer. If you told me he was singing in Toronto, I would find a way to go. It's a reason to see it.
And he got hired off of that Buffy musical episode.
Yeah,
quite literally.
Yeah, because he sang twice in Buffy. He sang once in a Halloween episode, and I remember Willow's character saying, okay, I find Giles hot and I don't like this. And then the Once More with Feeling episode, which is one of the best of that show. And yeah, it's honestly worth experiencing once. And even Paul Sorvino, he doesn't sing a lot, but he's got a weird presence too that I kind of dig in it too.
Paul Sorvino was actually a classically trained opera singer.
I did not know that.
Believe it or not.
Yeah,
and that's why that was one of the reasons he got hired.
So motherfucking Paulie from Goodfellas is rocking out here with Giles. I mean, there is a phrase I never thought I'd say on this show, but here we are. So, folks, I really hope you'll check out Sing a Bit of Harmony on Crunchyroll. I hope you'll check out Repo the Genetic Opera on Tubi. Check these things out. It's worth experiencing. I mean, if you missed the big musical this summer, which was Elvis, which had hip hop in it for some reason, but I really enjoyed it.
Elvis is a treat.
Yeah.
It's a Baz Luhrmann film. It's an experience. That's what you go to a Baz Luhrmann film for.
And that's the type of movie that you should see in a theater because of the sound system. I don't know how it's going to translate on home video. I'm sure I'll get a copy in a few weeks. Alex hated it, but why am I not surprised? So we will be talking about that at some point, I'm sure. I'm sure me, Ken, and Aaron, and Alex, and JT will be together on this show sometime again really soon. I know coming up in the month of October, we're going to be doing our salute to Mick Garris, one of the horror directors who has done so many adaptations of Stephen King's work. We're going to be doing a spotlight on John Carpenter, some of his lesser-known movies that aren't Halloween. And we're also going to be doing our annual Halloween show with James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, talking about Stephen King adaptations, which may eventually lead to a part 2 down the road, just because we wanted to talk about so much more, but we only had an hour of recording time on that particular day. So anyway, guys, for This Week in Geeks Loose Cannon, we have been
Ken Reels from This Anime.
I've been Mike the Birdman saying be kind, rewind, and we'll catch you guys next time right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Are either one of these any good? Sir?
What?
Are either one of these any good?
I don't watch movies.
Quick! Change the channel!
You're wasting your life making shit! Nobody cares! These movies are terrible!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
Drug market, submarket. Sometimes I wonder why I ever got in. Blood market, love market. Sometimes I wonder why they need me at all. Zydrate comes in a little glass vial.
A little glass vial? A little glass vial.
And the little glass vial goes into the gun like a battery. And the Zydrate gun goes somewhere against your anatomy. And when the gun goes off, it sparks and you're ready for surgery. Surgery.